guys, welcome to episode 12 of the Meltdown. Today is Thursday, the 10th of 2016. That was all weird, but it's all good. The Meltdown is a weekly 20-minute podcast about the current meta in Hearthstone. Each week we'll focus on a specific deck, except for this week we're actually focusing on our new adventure, One Night in Karazhan, and we'll provide our insight on how to pilot through Karazhan this week and how to succeed with it. My name is Dominic Silver Dragon Nguyen, and of course I have my legendary co-host here, Nate Diggity. How's it going, buddy?
Pretty good, dude. Excited to finally do some card review. We have a good show ahead of us, and I'm ready to get started. How about you?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for asking, man. I played a bunch of Hearthstone this week, so I'm pretty happy, and I'm excited to shake up the meta with the new wing this week. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. For those of you guys who don't know, and if you guys just forgot, each wing will probably cost about 700 gold. So make sure you have saved up 700 gold for tomorrow in order to buy the first wing. Although I believe this time they're giving away 2 intro missions, so you'll get 2 cards just to play around with, regardless of whether you have 700 gold or not. But it's obviously better to have 700 gold each week in order to unlock each wing. So the way that this week is going to work is going to be a little bit different. We're going to go through a couple of our favorites, our most underrated, overrated, best, worst, stuff like that. Since we've gone through the cards, and we'll just talk about it. We don't want to go through all the cards because not every card will shake up the meta, and that's what we're about.
And we don't have 15 hours to go through all of them.
And we also don't have 15 hours, so that's a good reason not to do that. All right, so we're going to go through, first of all, our favorite cards, our most underrated, our most overrated, the best card, the worst card, and that about does it for us. So let's start. What's your favorite card from the set, Nate?
My favorite card, sir, is the Curator.
Curator.
Yes. So, for those of you who do not know what Curator is, Dom will put it up on the screen here.
It's already up there, yep.
All right, and for our audio listeners, the Curator is a 7-mana 4/6 mech with Taunt, and its battle cry is draw a Beast, Dragon, and Murloc from your deck. So you get to draw all 3, barring that you play all 3 of those classes in your deck.
Tribes, yeah.
Tribes. That's the word I was looking for, not classes. Thank you very much, sir.
All good, all good.
Yeah, so I enjoy this card a lot because it basically creates a new archetype. So the same way that Reno did in the League of Explorers, I believe that Curator is not going to have that much of an impact, but it just gives... It can really shake up the meta if people are trying out a lot of these weird synergistic tribe combinations. So, for example, you could have a dragon, you could play Alexstrasza, a beast, you could play...
Stranglethorn Tiger.
Yeah, there you go. That's a pretty good one. And Murloc, you can play Sir Finley Murglekin, or whatever. You can switch up.
Actually, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, or Cold Light Oracle is another decent Murloc that you don't always need other Murlocs in the deck with. So, or you can just play a dragon and a beast. You don't necessarily need a Murloc, or vice versa with, Murloc dragon combination. The possibilities are endless.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, what do you think of the card?
I think it's really cool. I really like the art. If you're looking at it, it's on the left side of the screen over here. I really like the art. It looks really cool, and I also think that it's going to be really strong. Like, regardless, you're drawing 3 cards, right? Which is really huge, and it's 3 cards you can pick too. So I think it's one of the stronger fish decks, fish cards that you can pull. So I think it's gonna be really good. I don't know how much it'll affect the meta, but I think it's a really cool card, and I want to see what people do with it.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be really good in Druid, considering Druid plays Beasts, or probably going to start playing Beasts. We'll get to that soon.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Dragon, because they play the Azure Drakes all the time, because it synergizes so well with Wrath and Swipe, etc. Murloc, not so much, but again, 2 out of the 3, you're still going to get crazy value with this card.
Still really good value. And a 4/6 body is still really, really good too, so...
Yeah, it's not bad, so... Yeah. I think it's a good card. It's my favorite because it could possibly shake up the meta and bring out some new archetypes that we haven't seen before.
Yep.
How about you, sir? What is your favorite card?
Sounds good. So my favorite card, actually, I'm a really value player, so my favorite card is actually the best card. So I went with a slightly different route when picking a card. I picked Cat Trick. It's so cute. Look at it. It's a purple cat in a hat. It's awesome. I think it's really cool. One, it's really cute. I think it's adorable. And actually, it's not too bad of a secret either. Like honestly. But yeah, Cat Trick. I picked it because it's cute.
Yeah, that is some sound logic. It definitely is super, super cute.
It's adorable. But
The
yeah.
gold version, actually, the cat pops up and then pops back down in the hat, so that's
Does it? Okay.
super epic.
Yes. Okay. I'll have to get 2 gold ones and just to look at, make my day a little brighter. But yeah,
However,
yeah. What's up?
beyond the cuteness,
Mhm.
like you said, it actually is a pretty decent secret in my opinion. I know a lot of pros have just kind of written it off right away, but again, just having other weird secrets in your hunter deck throws off your opponents, and then if they play a spell, which would grant you your secret, so again, after your opponent casts a spell, summon a 4/2 Panther with Stealth. So they play one spell, and then in order to remove it, they have to play some sort of AoE spells if they want to remove it the same turn. So again, they're going to have to play like a second spell. So it really forces your opponent to either use a lot of mana in that turn if they're able to. Otherwise, you have a 4/2 that you can use to trade next turn, pretty efficiently, hopefully. So I think it's a pretty good card and definitely cute.
Yeah, it's really fun. So yeah, it's I think it's a fun card, and also we have a new card. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's a 3/4 for 3, which is strong, and it actually makes your secrets.
Huntress.
Yeah, it's Huntress. It makes your secrets cost 0, so we'll see how well that synergizes with it. But yeah, should be good.
Cloaked Huntress, sorry.
Yeah, Cloaked Huntress, that's the one. Yeah, so well, we'll see if they synergize, and maybe I know in the past we've seen hunter decks that play every single secret, so just to throw off people and stuff like that, and we'll play weird around secrets. So
And
yeah,
like lock in, or Yogg and
Lock and
Load, I
Load.
should say.
Yeah, Yogg and Load.
So
There you
you can
go.
add another secret in there. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it's going to be meta defining, obviously, but I think it has a spot.
Yeah, definitely. All right, moving on to most underrated. Nate, what is your most underrated card?
My most underrated card, sir, is Moat Lurker.
Hmm.
So Moat Lurker is a 6-mana 3/3 card, and it has a Deathrattle effect to just resummon it. So it's pretty good in my opinion. It's very underrated, and usually when I look at cards, I like to look at other cards that are already in the game and then kind of compare how those mana costs are, and basically compare the new card with that same mana cost. So an example of that, Assassinate does the exact same thing as Moat Lurker, so you can destroy any minion, doesn't matter if it's a 1/1 or a 12/12 Deathwing. So that is 5 mana already, and the only class that has that card is Rogue.
Mhm.
So already you're at 5 mana, so subtract 5 from 6, and you're at 1 mana, so you get a 3/3 with Deathrattle.
Yeah.
So 3/3, we'll just call it 2 to 3 mana. A 3/4 is typically 3 mana. It's vanilla, and you could get like a 3/2 or a 2/3 for 2 mana. So it's somewhere like 2.5 mana essentially. And the Deathrattle effect, typically it's around 1 to 2 mana. So basically you're looking at around 8 mana for this card. So it should be
Really high
8.
value. Yeah.
Right, and you're combining it all in the one card. So the problem with it, it's a little slow in this meta, but I really think it's super underrated, and you can definitely should see this in some more control type decks, especially since you can remove anything with it. Whereas Big Game Hunter, it's a 4/2 for 5 mana, and you can only kill creature of 7 attack or greater.
Mhm.
So I think it's pretty good. What do you think?
I think it's really, really good as well. I think it's definitely underrated. Most people will see it as like a temporary solution to big problems, but it's the same reason why we run what's the 8 mana 6/7 that brings back your Cthulhu?
Oh, the Doomcaller?
Yeah, Doomcaller. It's the same reason why we run Doomcaller.
8 mana 7/9. Just
Oh, 7/9, yeah. But it's really strong because I've definitely realized how not necessarily easy, but how often people can change a minion or hex, or like basically not destroy minion. So if you want to pull their Cthulhu out and destroy it, when you resummon it, I believe it'll be like, I don't know if it'll be. That's actually interesting. It might be a 6/6, but even if it's not, you can use it in what's it, Shaman decks, and change the Moat Lurker to something else into with 7 cost, and then it won't resummon their Cthulhu. So like
Right.
that's a really strong effect, I think, for Moat Lurker to have.
Well, yeah, I think with Moat Lurker, so if you Moat Lurker a Cthulhu, the Cthulhu would come back with the same power. So if it was a 12/12, you Moat Lurker it, it's going to come back to the 12/12. Where if you hex it, they just don't get their Cthulhu back if they have used Doomcaller. So definitely not good in that regard. But again, you're not leaving a 0/1 taunt or a sheep, like a 1/1 on the board either. So you just clean removal, which is 5 mana. So we've seen as a class card in Assassinate.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a really interesting card to play. If you can figure out a way to get rid of your Moat Lurker without destroying it, then you basically have a free Assassinate. And I'm sure someone will figure out a way how to do that, more consistently than I can think of right now. So
So that's my card, Moat Lurker, as most underrated. What about you, Dom?
so my most underrated card is the Silverware Golem. I think it's super underpowered I think it's super underrated. It's actually underpowered for its cost, seeing as it's just a 3/3 vanilla card if you play on curve. But if you're playing Doomguards, and maybe even what is it? I can't remember. I'm so bad with card names. The four.
Succubus, 4/3 for 2 mana.
The Succubus, or even Soulfire. That's the one I was looking for.
Right.
Then it'll be like super strong, right? Like even if you only played in Zoo, you're still getting a free 3/3 because like it'll come out as soon as you discard it. So that's really really strong.
I think you got someone's snoring.
Oh, is that someone in the back? Hang on, give me like 2 seconds to throw something at him.
Yeah. So while Dom's throwing stuff at people sleeping in the background, Silverware Golem I think it's a pretty good card. The one downside to Silverware Golem, I believe it comes out either in the first or second week. So you're going to have this 3/3 card, which you can't use, but it's super good with Imp of Malchezaar, which is a 1 mana 1/3 for Warlock class. And then basically, whenever you discard a card, draw a card.
Oh, yeah, that's really strong too.
That's going to synergize really well with Silverware Golem, so I don't think Silverware Golem's going to see a whole lot of value right away, but as soon as Imp of Malchezaar comes into the meta, I think those two are going to synergize extremely well, and I definitely think you're right. Getting a 3/3 card on the board for free is exceptionally good.
Yeah, definitely. And the snowing's gone away, so that's really awesome as well. All right, no worries. Let's move on to the most overrated card, and I actually really like your pick for this one. What is your most overrated card?
My most overrated card, based upon what I've been hearing and the hype train rolling through Karazhan, I believe it is going to be Medivh the Guardian. Main reason being it's an okay card, don't get me wrong. However, it's super hyped up, and it's a 7/7 for 8 mana. And basically you summon your weapon, Akiesh, which is a 1 attack, 3 charge weapon, and whenever you cast a spell, you summon a random minion for the cost of that spell that you casted. So, like I said, it's okay, but if you play a 7/7 on turn 8 with no immediate board effect, like against a Shaman or any other aggro type deck, you're just going to get rocked. However, in a more control type matchup, it's going to be super good. Obviously, you're going to most likely get some pretty good effect out of here. So if you, example mage, you play Medivh, and then next turn you Flame Strike, for example, and then you get a random 7 cost creature as well as clear the board. So obviously it's super good in that regard, but I think it's just too slow right now. What about you?
I think it's absolutely too slow. It's nice though. The one thing that I really like about it is that it's an equip. So most cards, like, you need to keep the card on the board, but even if they deal with your Medivh, you still have the staff
Atiesh, yes.
Yeah, I can't. I'm so bad with like World of Warcraft like names. They're so weird to me. Like Marco Yog, whatever. We'll talk about that later. But I'm just saying, like, yeah. I think it's nice that you can still equip the Great Staff and still use it to cast spells. That being said, though, it is now prone to things like Harrison and Ooze. But I think it's a nice thing that they kept it separate. It makes the card a little bit stronger. But yeah, I definitely think it's a little bit too slow for this meta.
Yeah, what about you? What is your most overrated card, sir?
My most overrated card is Prince Malchezaar. Am I even saying that right? Malchezaar?
Malchezaar.
Malchezaar? There you go. I think it looks really cool, right? It looks like Drax's Doomfists that are about to like punch you in the face. I also feel like the reason why people like in Magic, right? Like if you guys play Magic, if you guys don't play Magic, you can have more than 30 cards. For example, if you were playing like by Hearthstone rules, you could have up to as many cards as you want, but you have to have like minimum 30, right? But the reason why people don't do that is because it makes your deck a lot less. What's the word I'm looking for?
Refined.
Refined. Like, you want to have 30 cards so that you know exactly what you have in your deck, and you know that you're gonna draw this, and you can look for like outs or look for ways to win. With 5 extra cards in your deck, it's a lot harder to do that, and you don't even know what the legendary cards are gonna be. They could be like Nat Pagels, and they could be Boogie Monsters. Like you don't know, right? You can't bank on having 5 Ragnaroses that you're gonna draw. So that's why I think this card is definitely overrated. It's really cool though, and I think it's gonna be a really fun card to play. But I definitely know a lot of people who like instantly looked at this as like, wow, like I'm gonna draw like all the legendaries and I'm gonna totally win with my Deathwing. But that's unlikely.
Yeah, very. I mean, for 5 mana, 5/6, that is your vanilla card. I forget the one that came out not too long, a couple expansions ago, but that is vanilla base stat. So that's pretty good. And then you're adding 5 extra cards to your deck. So the only meta in which I can see this doing really well is a very control heavy
Super control
matchup. Yeah, exactly. So like this would be really good in Fatigue Priest, Fatigue Warrior, just adding those 5 extra cards to your deck. But again, they're all random, and then they can just make it longer for you to get to the cards that you actually need. Like if you're playing Warrior, like a Brawl, and you just get some random crappy legendary. So yeah, definitely another overrated one as well. So I think we got some good cards in that category.
Yeah, definitely. So now let's move on to the best and the worst cards. Let's start with the best. Nate, what's your best card that you think is from the set?
The best card, in my opinion, is Barnes. So for the audio listeners, Barnes is a 3/4 for 4 mana, and basically you pull a 1/1 token from an existing card in your deck. So essentially, it reads exactly: battle cry, summon a 1/1 copy of a random minion in your deck. So basically, it's a Yeti. So it's a 4/5, 4 mana essentially, 3/4 plus 1/1. And then you could also pull like a Deathrattle card if you want. So you have a 1/1 Deathrattle, or you could do like an Archmage Antonidas, and then you can play a spell right away. And then you can get synergy like that. And then another way is the Ben Broadster. When he was defending Purify, which we'll get to in a little bit, you could essentially Purify the 1/1 and silence it, and then its base stats goes to whatever stats that it normally would be. So if you pulled out a 1/1 Deathwing and you silenced it, it's now a 12/12. So while that is very unlikely to happen, it's still a possibility. But I think nonetheless, Barnes will see a lot of play just based upon the 4/5 for 4 mana stats. What do you think of the card now?
I think it's a really good card, definitely. I'm waiting to see the 1/1 Ragnaros that snipes you for the win. Like that'd be really cool. Same thing, like you said about the Ben Brode summoning a Deathwing and doing the Purify combo. We'll see. I think it's really strong regardless. It's also really nice because the only class that had this sort of mechanic was Rogue with Shadowcaster, and so getting we know that getting a 1/1 is really powerful depending on the effect, and it's still summoning a minion, and it also thins out your deck. So I definitely think that it's gonna be a really powerful card.
It actually doesn't thin out your deck. It just
Oh, it
makes a
copies it.
1/1. Yeah,
Never mind. I'm a liar, but still really good.
you had one job, dude.
I know. Reading. Oh well, but yeah,
But no,
I think it's a really strong card, and its base stats aren't too bad either, and it's actually a lower cost legendary too, so I definitely like seeing more of those.
yeah, they're pretty rare. Usually, lower cost legendaries are crap. Nat Pegels, for example, Cho, Millhouse, Mana Storm. All
Yeah,
those are pretty bad. So it is refreshing to see a good 4-drop legendary minion.
yeah, definitely.
What about you, sir? What is your best card in Karazhan?
My best card, which I think is going to be completely broken, and I can't wait to play it, in fact, is Menagerie Warden. Menagerie Warden is a 6 mana 5/5. Choose a friendly beast and summon a copy of it. Um, so I think this is going to be like completely broken. It's going to start a new, well, not new, but it's going to revive the Druid beast archetype. Um, I think the best thing you could do with this card is summon Stranglethorn Tiger for 5, and then attack with it, and then you can copy it, so it'll get a 5/5 and another 5/5. So you'll have 10/10 for 6 mana, and if you happen to not have a Stranglethorn Tiger, oh my god, a Stranglethorn Tiger, but you happen to have another beast that you just happen to buff, any buffs that you've given that beast will actually be copied over as well. That's why I mentioned the Mark of Yogg-Saron. I don't even know how to say it.
You need to throw a battery at your roommate here
Oh my
again.
god. Alright, here we go. Yeah, Mark of...
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. So I do agree. Menagerie Warden is going to be pretty good. I think it's going to be pretty difficult most of the time to lay down Stranglethorn and then next turn Menagerie Warden. That's obviously the dream scenario, like you said. However, even if you just drop, I forget the name of the beast card that just came out for Druid. It's the 1/1 for 2 mana. The something Raven.
Oh yeah, the Raven.
Enchanted Raven.
It's just a Raven. It's 1
Yeah.
mana for 2. It's still really good, yeah.
So even if you have an Enchanted Raven on the board and then you Menagerie Warden, you're still getting 7/7 for 6 mana. So if you copy any beast with this card, it's gonna be good. So yeah, I can definitely see this card being the best. Verdict's still out to see how well Druids can control the board, which is usually most of the time due to their big creatures. But yeah, you might get the gold star on this one for picking Menagerie Warden. By the way, nice pronunciation on Menagerie. You just got to work on your WoW lore names.
Yeah, I know. Oh my god. I need to play WoW, but it's such a... We'll see. We'll see when Legion comes out. Maybe you could convince me. But yeah, let's go into the worst cards now. What is your pick for the worst card, Nate?
My worst pick, and believe me, it took a while because there are some pretty bad cards. For example, a lot of people saying Purify would be one. I disagree. We'll get to Purify though.
Definitely.
But I picked Pantry Spider.
Pantry Spider.
Yes, Pantry Spider. It is a 1/3 for 3 mana, and its battle cry is you summon a copy of that minion. Terrible card. So it also has a beast synergy, so I guess there's that, and there's a battle cry, so you could play Bran with it if you really wanted to, but just a really crappy use of Bran. But anyway, it's really bad because a lot of good 1-drops or 1/3s are 1-drops. Most of them are class cards, but you have cards like Sir Finley. So we'll say a 1/3 is 1 mana. So if you pay 3 mana to get 2 1/3s, that should really only be 2 mana. So there's that, and then you had Echoing Ooze. It was a 2 mana, and you summoned a 1/2, and then you can buff that minion. So buff it with like Mark of the Wild or something, and then it would summon an identical copy of that buffed minion. Whereas if you can't buff this, it's just going to be a crappy 2 1/3 minions for 3 mana. So it's pretty bad. I did struggle a long time. Looked at some other cards like Moros and Purify, and then there was that 0/2 egg. I forget the name of it.
Yeah, the egg.
Runic Egg is pretty bad in my opinion too, but I think this is definitely the worst card. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I definitely think it's really, really bad. I have a different pick for it.
What do you think about Pantry Spider, Dom?
Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I definitely think that it's definitely one of the worst cards in this set. One mana is like garbage. Like I'd almost rather have zero mana because at least this doesn't activate. What's that one card? The 1/3 that actually draws you a card. That's actually a good card. Um,
Oh, cleric.
yeah, at least like I mean, at least it doesn't activate that. If it with zero attack, but since it has one attack, it's pretty bad. And most cards being played today have like at least 2 mana, so this just loses to like everything. There's so many better 3 drops out there. So, um,
Yeah. It's
yes,
so bad. It gets traded into very easily. It's got to be the worst card. What's your worst card?
my worst card is actually you mentioned it, Moros. It's legendary too, so it's like it adds to the insult of like having this card in the set. It's a 3 mana 1/1 stealth. At the end of your turn, summon a 1/1 steward. I think every class has a way to deal with stealth 1/1 creatures, aka Blood Imp, um, and even Patient Assassin, which has the same stats. Those cards aren't seen at all in competitive play, and so there's no reason that I would think Moros would see any competitive play. And just in addition to that, he looks like a really big wimp. So I think it's just a really bad card. What do you think?
I think that Moros is going to meet a lot of ravaging ghouls. So turn
Yes.
3, you play your Moros. Turn 3, your warrior friend, who you're going to play 25% of the time, is going to say, "Hello, Mr. Moros,"
God
and
bless.
your turn is just wasted.
Yeah.
Uh, but to play a devil's advocate a little bit, though, it's a 3 mana 2/2 with half stealth, and then you have the potential to keep summoning 1/1 tokens because it remains in stealth. But if your opponent has any sort of AOE, board clear, this thing is pretty much immediately dead
Yeah.
unless you're like playing paladin and you can put some bubbles on him just to make sure that he doesn't die, or if you buff him some other way. The only deck I can really see him being played in is paladin, possibly druid with all the tokens and buffs you can do in that, but I don't
Yeah.
know why anyone would even waste their time playing this, to be perfectly honest. It's
Yeah.
pretty bad.
It's a really bad card. Um, yeah, there's not much else to say about it. Enjoy your 400 dust, if it ever is uncraftable. I think at some point it might be, but
I think right away it is. So yeah, 400 dust.
yeah, 400
Yeah.
dust. All right. And of course, we have to talk about one very specific card. Everyone has been talking about it. The card Purify. It's a 2 mana priest card. Silence a friendly minion and draw a card. I'm sure you have a lot to say about it. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, of course. So I don't know if I have a lot to say about it, but I think people just need to stop freaking out. Yes, we know it's a bad card, but you don't have to just gripe about it. Okay, so it is 33% of the priest cards, and priest is maybe the worst class. I don't know. I'd say paladin is
Pretty bad
probably
right
worse
now.
in my opinion, but I might be a little biased because I like priest. But it's definitely in the bottom 2. And so when you look at what Purify is, it's a silence and you draw a card. So Priest already has a silence. It costs 0 mana, so already this card is overcosted by 2. And Priest has a pretty good cycle card in Power Word Shield, which is buff a minion by 2 health, and then you draw a card. So if you combine those 2 cards, it's essentially 1 mana for both of these effects. But again, you're not targeting on the same creature, so definitely overcosted. Definitely a bad card, but I think there might be some use for it since you can play decks like Barnes. You can play Barnes, and we can get the Deathwing draw from Barnes, and then you silence it and get the 12/12, as Ben Brode would say. But otherwise, you can use it on like Ancient Watcher, Eerie Statue, and then you can draw a card. So I'm actually excited to try some cheese decks like that. But I don't think it's, good by any means. What do you think about it, Tom?
Yeah, definitely. I actually ran into a druid yesterday that ran silence on his ancient watchers, getting ready for purify, I guess. Um, and I just beat his ass. So we'll see how well this card does. I don't think it'll be very good. thankfully, we won't see any of it in Arena. Ben Rhoda has already told them that they've pulled the plug on this card in Arena.
Yes,
So
good point.
yeah, I mean, no one will. I don't. We'll see. It'll be a fun deck to see people play just because of how bad of a reception it's getting. But yeah, I think it's a bad card, and I don't think that it's going to be very good. Actually, we could just talk about the way that Hearthstone playtests its cards. I think originally this card costed one, and sometimes it costed one, and then people just used it to draw a card because the average cost for drawing a card is two. So it was really powerful in that respect, and so they couldn't have that because even though it silenced a friendly minion, it was strong enough at one mana, drawing a card that people just played it in the deck just to cycle through. So they couldn't have that because it made other priest archetypes too strong, so they had to make it 2 mana, and now this card is garbage. So unfortunately, I don't know.
No, that's a really good point. I mean, if you make this card anything else, 1 mana, it's broken. If you make it be able to silence, other creatures, then it's pretty broken as well. Especially since I forget the name of it, Hooter, the owl,
Ironbeak Owl.
Ironbeak Owl.
Thank
Thank
card.
you. Yeah, so they're obviously trying to make silence a lot harder to play.
Mhm.
So again, I think that's just why it costs 2 mana, because they really value the effectiveness of silence. So, my opinion, I wouldn't have even included it. Priestess needed a good 2-drop minion for the longest time, and they still haven't given it to us Priest players. So, maybe next expansion, and hopefully with the community outcry, maybe they'll do it next time.
Yeah, Priest definitely needs like a menagerie warden for themselves that summons dragons because Dragon Priest is a thing, and I'm really into dragons, so that's what they need to be really good. But yeah, Purify is just garbage of a card for sure.
Or like Ritual Play says, you could play Ice Howl and silence your Ice Howl and go face with it for 10 damage.
That's true. But no one plays Ice Howl anyways. But yeah, you could play Ice Howl, I guess, for sure.
It's bad.
It's
but
definitely
that's just our piece on it. It's not the worst card, but it's bad.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, that about sums it up for this week. I can't wait to play tomorrow. And then we'll have to decide a deck that maybe includes some Karazhan cards
for sure
next week. But we'll see. It'll be very hard to do that just because of how unrefined the meta will be. I don't even know how many cards we're getting tomorrow.
Well, there's like the prologue, what they're calling it, and I think there's like 3 cards included, and then there's like another wing that they're releasing right away. So I forget the exact amount, but I think it's probably going to be at least like 10 or so, maybe 12. I don't know.
Not too bad.
Yeah, because I believe there's going to be
46.
They're going to be spread out through 4 different weeks, so it would make sense if we got the majority of them right away since we're doing a prologue and a wing. So I'd say around 12-ish.
That's true. All right, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if Menagerie Warden, I doubt it will be released in the first week, but if it is, oh my god.
No, I don't think it is yet.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
I think we're getting Moros right away, I know, so there's not going to be pretty much anything good that I can think of. I know they're releasing one of the new priest cards, so we'll see how it goes. Nothing too new or too exciting for next week, though, but we'll see how the meta changes.
Yeah, definitely. Alright, well, the sound of that soundtrack means this is coming to an end. Yeah, we'll talk to you guys next week. And have a good week, guys.
Thanks for tuning in.
See ya.